Finally did it. Yes, he did. A lot of people wouldn't thought, of course, that Prince Harry would have turned up to do this, well, rather controversial thing. But when you are now Prince Harry with not too much else to do, how do you fill your days? And more importantly, Meghan needs a camera shining on her. But there was panic backstage, drama, and lots more. As ever, let me explain. Lovely to see you today. Thank you as ever for your time. Also, so glad that you enjoyed our recent small video about the blue plaque and, of course, the brilliant entertainer that was Judy Garland. It really sort of cut a different sort of cloth, as it were, because lots of people said, yeah, well, I'd love a blue plaque on my house. And lots of people said, no, I'm not sure I would either. So it was interesting because I don't know. I think I would, be just knowing that somebody of that stature lived there. But I guess you always have to think, every time you open the door, somebody taking the picture, you'd have to have net curtains, wouldn't you? You'd have to rinse them on a regular basis because, well, you couldn't have people say, look at those nets, dreadful. There's all sorts of things to consider though, isn't there? It's a little bit like our royal story of the day. This story rolled on and on, all because, of course, even the mother of the late Pat Tillman came out and said she felt there was somebody else far more deserving. And of course, it was painted around the veneer of the Invictus Games. We're talking, of course, about the ESPN Awards hosted by the tennis ace Serena Williams. Now, I met Serena. She is a nice girl, actually, really fun. I think probably a totally different character, obviously, on court, but ferocious, winning, but such a nice, warm person off camera and just a nice, fun girl. I don't mean off camera, but, in real life, just a nice sort of fun girl. Lots of giggles, is what I would say. Interesting, of course, she took to the stage. I thought she looked nice and did a sterling job. We'd never heard of the ESPN Awards. It didn't really mean much as to over here, of course. Prince Harry ensured it got lots of publicity. Didn't he look fidgety? Didn't he look nervous? Well, this is the reason why. Let me explain. You see, behind the scenes, things weren't going particularly well. Now, what I can tell you is, right up until the 11th hour, it wasn't 100% confirmed that Prince Harry, along with his wife, Meghan Markle, were going to attend these awards. This was because he was racked with nerves, worried about booing, more importantly. So the company, ABC, the broadcaster, made sure that they had recorded claps, laughter tracks as we call them, but clap traps. So that basically when he got up, if anybody did boo, they could rev that sound up so that would be drowned out. As ever, we have to say allegedly, but I know people working on it. And what's interesting as well is that Harry, as I say, had made a video in placement in case his bottle went, A lot of pressure was on him to deliver that, whether you believe it or not. And it must have been quite nerve-wracking, as you could see when he got up from his seat. But apparently he had a meltdown behind the scenes. Didn't know if he could go with it. And, I'm not being cruel when I say this. We know Harry suffers a lot. He's spoken about it, written about it, about his mental health, and apparently had something of a mild panic attack. Didn't know if he could go through with it. Now, that's where it gets even more confusing because they wanted him, of course, to take to the red carpet. But what they couldn't be sure of was that Harry wouldn't be asked leading questions about the awards and the backlash and stuff like that. Hence the reason it was and ahhing. Eventually, Meghan, in her mother-caring way, gripping, naturally, managed to get him to agree to go in, and so consequently what you saw was literally what you saw on screen. But it was not an easy ride, let me tell you. Now, as you saw also, they wanted to get off stage. A lot of people didn't necessarily want to be associated with this, but Harry wasn't letting go, made them stay throughout his speech. But you will notice one thing: he clutched that award. He didn't give it to any of the others to hold, or indeed basically say it's really for you. He did say that, but the body language and perhaps clutching the award didn't mean it, did it? Interesting stuff behind the scenes as ever. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.